All right, these are our pitching upgrades for the roster update coming out on June 17th. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 starting pitchers on the docket today. So it's going to be a nice update. Hitting was a little light, and I struggled to find a lot of guys that I felt really convicted to. And that's just going to be the way it is sometimes. There's going to be some weeks only a couple hitters, only a couple pitchers. The weeks where it's kind of flooded. Some of those weeks, like last week, where I've got a handful of guys that I feel really confident about, and then another group where I'm kind of like they're on the fringe, and that's when you'll vote. With this one, I wanted to do all 9 of these, so I put in the work. That's why there's no vote for an extra person. It'll just be all 9 of them today. All right, let's start out west with Drew Pomeranz, the best player on this team right now. And they're only gold, right? Yeah, they're only gold. Now, he was recently hit up, but obviously something that happened, I think it was yesterday, is not going to be something that we're going to see into the game on Friday. Plus, he can have a bad start. You don't have to move up and down for every good and bad start. It's just, I'm just kind of cutting off any comments about, oh, he just got rocked, whatever. Okay, 1 start. But here's the real factor, and this is something that they need to do. They've shown that they will add pitches, especially pitches that are 100% deserving. And the fact of the matter is, Drew Pomeranz absolutely deserves another pitch, and it really should be his curveball. Now, there's not his curveball, excuse me. Obviously, that's there and amazing. It has to be his changeup. Now, when I looked over the data, there's a case to also add a cutter because Fangraphs has him using one 12% of the time, and Brooks Baseball has him using one 10% of the time. And let me tell you guys the thing about pitch classifications. They can be pretty sketchy. They can be kind of tough. It's a really tough thing to do. There will be pitches that are labeled as something in Brooks Baseball, brooksbaseball.net, by the way, great website, that a pitcher doesn't even acknowledge that he throws because he doesn't call it that. So sometimes names, they're just names for things. That's why a lot of times with some guys, you basically call it a breaking ball. Like, I know that Corey Kluber has a curve and a slider on this game, and he should because of the way he can manipulate it into 2 different pitches. He just calls it his breaking ball. He just says, my breaking ball, because he knows that it's, basically some guys, the way they can manipulate, they can have like 4 different sliders. I think Adam Ottavino claims to have 4 different sliders. But either way, we'll give them a pass if they don't add the cutter, but they've got to add the changeup. First off, he's consistently at least had a show-me changeup. What that means is a pitch that you can just throw out there every once in a while. That's okay. Show me that you got a little something else. Okay, there's your changeup. He's used it more than show-me value, though. Show-me pitch is something that you use like 2 to 5% of the time. But this year, Brooks Baseball has him using his changeup 11% of the time. So he has to get this added. They just can't stick with these 3 pitches because it's essentially 2 pitches when you consider 2-seamer and 4-seamer just aren't that different. Now let's go to the attributes of this changeup. It's not overwhelming. I'm not going to pretend that by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not bad. Actually, excuse me. I was thinking of somebody else's pitch because we are going to do a little other pitch stuff today. It has been overwhelming so far this year. Batters are 1 for 29 against his changeup with 4 walks and 9 strikeouts. 1 for 29. So it goes 86 miles an hour, so we'll get it right there. Not great on the velocity. Doesn't matter though. But pretty good, pretty okay control. I put shaky control, so I'll say that's a 45. Or else I would have said above average or average for 50 or above. But the movement is pretty good. There's good fade on it. Fade. That's so, fade when you're talking about that's arm side run, and since he's a left-hander, it fades away from right-handers. It would obviously dive in. It would have run on left-handers if he used it against them. I don't think he really uses it against them. I didn't check the splits on it, but either way, the movement's pretty good. I'd say 55. So we've got that. We got the pitch added there. That's necessary. Now let's go back up to his other attributes. Was there anything else that we were doing? No, we weren't, because the statistics are good. They've got this set up really nicely. They've been aggressive with him. I think these are good numbers. He does still walk a lot of guys, so it has to be pretty low there at 49. This is just adding the pitch, but this will make him a hell of a lot different. Honestly, I haven't even used him. He's one of my favorite on-the-rise pitchers in baseball, and I haven't even used him yet because it's 4-seam, 2-seam, and curve. That curve's devastating, but hell, man, human opponents especially going to make it tough. Now, it doesn't even really upgrade him, and I didn't really expect it to because it's not a great pitch. You know, it's a show me, basically. I mean, it's been used a little bit above that this year, and it has been good. But they can't give it the metrics of the 1 for 29 that it has, because it would be too OP right out of the gate. He's got to prove it a little bit more. But at least you would have 3 pitches, 4 if you're capable with a 2-seamer. I am not, and then it becomes a lot more usable as a gold. All right, next up is somebody that you guys mentioned a while back. I don't think I ever did an upgrade for him. I looked back in the archives, and I couldn't find one. So maybe I did one of those informal ones. I thought we had looked at Stephen Wright, but I don't have anything on the books for myself. He pitched well again tonight. No surprise. He's just been really damn good. Now, he was last upgraded on May 12th. And since May 12th, he's got a 2.89 ERA and a 1.23 WHIP. Now, the WHIP is quote unquote too high for that ERA. So normally you would say that the ERA is going to come up, but that sort of ratio, that sort of juxtaposition of those two stats, it's not the same as it is for normal pitchers. With knuckleballers, you can sustain a higher WHIP while maintaining a better ERA than most people can, most pitchers can, because of their method for success. They'll have a lot of walks, which will keep the whip up, but they won't have a lot of hits. And so, walks can be problematic. And when you see a knuckleballer really go sideways, they're going to have 5, 6 walks in a game, sometimes like 7 or 8 if it's really off. But again, that's one base at a time, and it's still not as damaging as any potential base hit. So I'd still rather have that than a guy who gives up a buttload of hits. All right, so we're also going to mess with his pitch attributes a little bit, and I'm hoping that they'll go in there and do this. Now, I did get word from a couple of the devs about that they don't usually manipulate pitches, but I've also been that's from those guys as far as they know. I've been put in touch with the ratings guru, and obviously he has manipulated that a little bit. We've seen pitches be added for guys. I don't know if they've actually messed with velocity control and break of any of them unless they're adding or subtracting, but we know that they will at least look at it. So I'm hoping that they'll take a look at his knuckleball and give him a little bit more break for it, because that's how you would account, for the fact that it would help with him being tougher to hit, because you don't want to move his hits per 9 like all the way up to like 85 or something. That's probably too high. But if you make the knuckleball a little bit nastier, I think that's one way that they can do it. Dickey has an 81 right now, and he's earned that a little bit from past years because it's not as good this year. Wright's knuckleballer this year has been way better. So I think you can make a case to move the break even higher, but I'll be conservative and say that they should move it up 9 points to 81. Fangraph says this thing called pitch value, and I honestly don't know the formula behind it, but it assigns a value of basically how many runs each pitch prevents, and anything positive, you don't want any of your pitches getting a negative run value, but Wright's knuckleball is 8.8, and for comparison, since this is the only person that we have for comparison, Dickey's is minus 1.9. So if that doesn't tell you what kind of filth his knuckleball has had this year, I don't know what will. So his stamina needs to go up a little bit more too. I mean, this guy is a workhorse. He goes 7. He can go 7+ every time if you want. He had his 7th start of 7+ innings tonight. He's gone fewer than 6 innings just twice. And that's 7+ innings in 7 of his 13 starts, so about half of them. I think his K9 can go up just a little, nothing crazy. He's at 7.7 this year. He's been at 7.4 for his career. Again, nothing crazy, just incrementally move it up a little bit. Again, along with the adding break on the knuckler, I think will make it a little bit more dirty, which will allow you to get more strikeouts, allow fewer hits, and probably walk more, but that's all right. That's part of the knuckleball. That's part of the risk that you take. So some small upgrades here, but I think that they're necessary and hopefully impactful. We'll see if it moves him up at all. He was at, I think it's 78. He only goes up to 79, so we're not moving the needle substantially here, but I think that he doesn't need to have a grade overall to be good, right? We used a guy last year who was like a 66. He was in everybody's damn lineup because of the knuckleball and the other pitches that he had. You can make this work too if you are a knuckleball aficionado. All right, now we're going back to one that we tried out a while ago. Didn't quite come to fruition. And this was on June 3rd, so just 2 weeks ago. I did an upgrade for Justin Verlander. Well, you know what? He's continued to be very good over these last 2 weeks, so I'm going to go back at it again, but this time with a little bit more added because he's been even better. So the K9 is going to go up to 76. He's at 9.4 Ks per 9 this year. That's 16th in baseball. They moved Nola pretty aggressively. They moved him up to 77 based on a short sample of 9.7 strikeouts per 9. And those, there's no real difference between 9.4 and 9.7. It's negligible. But okay, fine. If they want to be aggressive with Nola, because he also had a decent strikeout rate last year. And honestly, I think you can make a case to move Verlander closer to 79, 80. But I'd say at the very least, he should be 1 point shy of Nola. And they probably upgraded Nola maybe a little bit too aggressively, especially. But the reason I still kept him below Nola was this fact. If you use the last calendar year, Nola didn't come up until July, so I had to do minimum of 150 innings. Verlander's 25th in Ks per 9. Nola's 21st. So, okay, we'll keep him 1 point ahead. That's fine. Hits per 9, got to go up to 75. He's got 7.0 hits per 9 this year. That's really good. Only 7.6 last year. He's allowing a 211 average. I mean, he's been really tough to hit this year. Home runs can't be upped. Then he kind of deserves this mark, maybe even a little bit of a downgrade there because he is still, and it's honestly from earlier in the season, so hopefully they leave it alone because if you're kind of judging off of this recent run that's been the last month plus, then a 62 is fine. So just those two upgrades, but boosted them up a little bit more this time around compared to last time. Let's see what it does. Boom, we get him to gold. 83 to 86 for Verlander. All right, next up is old CC. Now, I am calling for back-to-back upgrades because he was just upgraded. But they've shown that they're unafraid to do that, and so that works. And this is another one where we're going to be in the pitches because I think that he absolutely needs to have a pitch added, but I'll get to that in a moment. I'm going to do the attributes first. Hits per 9, bump it up to 65. I mean, the dude has been a lot tougher to hit this year, and it kind of goes with some of the philosophy changes that he's made. In previous years, in these last couple of years when CC Sabathia has been really bad, he's given in. He gets in a deep count, 3 balls, 2 strikes, 3 balls, 1 strike, whatever. He gives in and starts bringing the ball into the zone, and they're really hittable pitches because you have to be more fine to make sure it's a strike. Well, batters are expecting it. He doesn't have the overpowering stuff. He can't live in the zone as much as he was, especially in those particular counts, and he's getting crushed. These days, he's unafraid to go ahead and just walk guys and, kind of take his chance at the next guy and not give up those hits because those hits are a hell of a lot more devastating than walks, kind of as I mentioned earlier with, Stephen Wright. And his hits per 9 this year hasn't been with some obscene batting average on balls in play. 275 is definitely better than average, but it's not at a level where you're like, oh, this has to skyrocket up. He's been super lucky. No, he's been good. There's been approach changes behind it that absolutely explain, even in a short sample, why we would see such big increases in his results. He's also allowing just 23% hard contact. It was at 27, 33, and 27 the last 3 years. Again, CC just got beat around the yard, and this year he's at 23%. It's a lot tougher to square up what he's throwing. His soft contact rate is up to 25%. It was at 16% from 2012 to 2014, guys. Like, that is a massive gain. He's inducing a hell of a lot more super weak contact, and that's really translating to the lower hit counts. And a lot of that soft contact is in the form of pop-ups. He has a 7% pop-up rate, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's double the league average. It's really good, actually. And those are basically automatic outs. Think about a pop-up, y'all. It's basically a strikeout. It doesn't count the same, particularly in fantasy, but it's the same effect. You almost never get out. All right, now that's the main upgrade there with the hits, but also his home runs can go up a little bit. 62, I think, is fair. He's at .3 this year, but 1.3 from 2012 to 2015. So he was a huge home run liability in those years when he was giving in, and now again that's another thing that we're seeing. He's not giving in, and the homers have really gone down. So I think they could actually be more aggressive here, but they have to consider that historical factor, and so I just don't know that they're going to move him up too much. They could do it another 4 or 5 points though, and it wouldn't be out of bounds for what he's allowing this year. And again, because he has a 3% homer to fly ball rate, which is pretty low for league average, and you would naturally expect that to regress at least a little bit, but I don't know that it's going to regress a ton because of those pop-ups. So a lot of his fly balls are pop-ups. Pop-ups aren't leaving the yard. All right, and then beyond that, he's got to get his cutter. Now, you can make a case for them to take his four-seamer away in favor of his cutter. I really doubt that they're going to do that, but they could, because if you look at Brooks Baseball, they're showing a 1% four-seam fastball usage this year compared to 32% for the cutter. It's not seen that way. So again, that becomes the classification thing because they classify a lot of his fastballs as sinkers instead of four-seamers. Either way, he's gone less to the straighter fastballs, which are these two, and gone for more with a lot more movement in the cutter. I doubt they're going to take his four-seamer away. Nice job, Sean Doolittle. Rougned Odor home run. But and then I doubt they're going to take the four-seam away. They're going to give him the cutter, hopefully, because he absolutely deserves it, and they would really give him another weapon. Now let's go fix those pitch attributes. It's been a pretty good pitch. Nothing crazy, like not some overwhelming pitch, but you'll see here. Gets up to about 88 miles an hour. So we'll leave it there. The control's been fair. Again, his control on any pitch, because if you're just judging off a walk rate, is going to be lower. And I understand that, but it's an approach. It's by choice, to be honest. The movement, the break should be better though. Should be pretty darn good because it's a nice little. It's not quite a slider because it's fast. He's not throwing 88-mile-per-hour sliders, but it has a nice little cut. All right, let's see what that does for old Cease. He only goes up 2 points to a 78. But that takes him to silver, and so got CC back at a silver. That's BR usable. I'm using that in a BR for sure, but that's about it. I don't even think necessarily like an all-silver lineup. I'm like, I have to use him. All right, who's up next? A lot of these are in the AL, and that's not really by design. Only 2 of them are in the National League. Oh, actually 3 of them are. Okay. Anyway, I just kind of noticed that because we're staying in AL again here. We're going back out west, though. You guys want to guess who it is? It's on this team. What if I tell you it's on Seattle? You can guess. It is James Paxton. Now, again, maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot with some of these projections because they're not going to come to fruition if they don't go in there and manipulate some of these pitches. But I think that they're not doing it every week, but they're doing it where it really merits, where it can really change how a player plays in this game. That's why they did it with Syndergaard. That's why they did it with Carlos Martinez, Jose Fernandez. There have been others, too, that I can't recall, but those are the 3 main ones. So where it merits, I think that they'll do it. We'll see. I think his fastball needs to be pushed up more, though. His fastball is averaging 97.8 miles per hour this year, guys. That's second in baseball for his innings qualification, which is about 20. It's small, but if you bring the innings down to where his are to where it gets him into the leaderboard, he's second to only Thor. Now, I'm not saying that they should go all the way up to where Thor's at. I should have looked exactly where he was at with his fastball velocity, but he's regularly hitting 100 and 99. So I think a 96 should be able to get him there regularly. We'll go on the high end of 96, whatever that is. So 85, right there on the high end of 96. That should still get him into the pushing 99 if you go all the way full meter. All right, strikeouts per 9 up to 68. He's got 13.5 strikeouts per 9, which is insane, and obviously deserves a number higher than 68, but it's 16 innings, so we do have to tap the brakes. Now, there are very noticeable changes in what James Paxton is doing to not only get the extra velocity, but the way more strikeouts, the much better control. He's changed his arm slot. It's a big change to move your arm slot down this much, and it's really completely overhauled what he's been able to do, even in a small sample of 16 innings. He was also good in AAA, though, as well. The ERA was a little bit high, but if you look at the actual skills, the strikeouts, the walks, the ability to prevent hits, it was still pretty substantial. Walk rate up to 56, nothing crazy. He's at 6% right now versus a 9% career. Again, you could move it higher based on 6% alone, but it is 16 innings, so we can't go crazy. I think these are measured gains, but I'd really like to see the velocity come up, because that's a situation where if they've got his pitches where they, quote unquote, should be, then I don't even care if they do the per 9 upgrades, because I can work with a lefty throwing 96 with a great breaking ball. All right, let's see what that does for Paxton. Moves him from a 79 to an 81. Not bad. Not bad. It was already a silver, just a little bit better silver now. An investment in Paxton is not paying off this week. That's not what you're doing it for. First off, you're doing it because you might want him on your team if he continues to pitch like this, because he's a gold candidate, but he's a down the road gold candidate. And so if you are a long-term investor that doesn't mind sitting on some cards, then James Paxton's definitely for you. The only thing that's going to get in his way, which unfortunately it does kind of constantly get in his way, is health. He's really struggled to stay healthy, and so that's really going to be what you're going to have to hope doesn't happen again. I'm certainly hoping for it, because he's just really good, and I want to be able to watch a really good 27-year-old keep pitching. All right, next is in the AL Central. You guys want to guess who it is? What if I tell you it's on KC? You'll probably get it. It's easy if I tell you the team. Danny Duffy. Now, he's kind of like Paxton, but almost to a better degree, because he's been beasting. It is a small sample, but it's a bigger small sample. It's three times the size, actually. No pitch manipulation for him, I don't think. I think we're good there. But plenty of per 9 improvements here. We'll move the strikeout rate up to 70. Not going crazy on it just yet. And that's because his history is going to factor in. He's got a 10.8 for 49 innings with 17% swinging strike rate. He has 11.0 strikeouts, so a little bit higher as a starting pitcher. So he's actually had more strikeouts per 9 as a starting pitcher than he did as a reliever, which is really impressive because it's usually the other way around. So I gave him two more points than I gave. I moved the wrong one up. That's why it seemed so unsubstantial. I was like, that's not that big of a jump. I moved the wrong meter, guys. I'm a dummy. This is K9. Boom, up to 70. So I moved him up just a couple points higher than Paxton. I had Paxton at 68 because, again, Duffy's done his for 3 times as long. But the reason I didn't do it more than 5 points more than Paxton is because career-wise, Paxton has a better strikeout rate than Duffy. So I used them to kind of bounce off each other a little bit and compare them. Hits per 9 up to 74, small gain, nothing crazy there. I'm not even going to go into the numbers because it's such a small gain, but it's backable via the stats. BB per 9 up 10 points at least. This has been a major change in his game. 1.8 walks per 9. 3.6 for his career. So he's essentially cut it in half. Actually, that's directly in half. And that's huge. Again, 49 innings. Got to keep saying that to kind of keep us calm. But it's still, I mean, they moved Aaron Nola, Steven Matz, Drew Pomeranz. They were very aggressive with them on small samples. So why can't they be with Duffy? I know that he has a career before this. So those other guys, they're just going on a smaller sample. But either way, this guy was a top prospect like 52 years ago. He has the pedigree. I think we can believe in a lot of what he's done. His first pitch strike rate is 66%. That's incredible. 60% is the average. To be 6% above average for a guy like this, too, who used to really struggle with control, that's absolutely huge. He's got the fourth best strikeout minus walk rate among starting pitchers with a minimum of 20 innings. Now, I had to do 20 innings minimum for him because he only has 31 as a starter, and there's no 30. Because some of those are in relief. I mentioned 49 total this year, but only 31 as a starter. He's got the fourth best strikeout rate as well. I moved that home run per 9 to 63. That's actually a downgrade. I think it started at 67. He's got 1.1 so far this year, 0.9 for his career, 1.5 as a starter. But I think most of those are in one game. He had a 3-homer game. And when you've only got 6 starts and you have a 3-homer game on your ledger, that's gonna impact you pretty heavily. Either way, I think these are actually pretty conservative for Duffy, just because I don't know how quickly they're going to go. But he could even get a bigger upgrade. This is another one that's a long-term investment, just as much as it is current. He goes from 76 to 79. So into silver, on his way to gold. That's a pretty solid card right there from the left side. That's a silver that I can definitely put in the lineup and try out a little bit, see how it works. When I was testing pitchers for Snake Doctors tournament, I tested Duffy, and I didn't do very well with him in the pitcher training, but I would definitely try him out again. All right, finally an NL guy. I'm going out west. Someone's mentioned this guy within the last couple of weeks for sure, because we briefly talked about him, and I said, yeah, I'll keep him on the list. It's Jon Gray. It's risky to ever move up a Colorado guy, but hey, he deserves it. He absolutely does. Let's see what he's got going. Now, the biggest gain that he can get, the reason I never take him in BR, even when I'm drafting bronzes, is this hit 9. It's so bad. 42, come on, that's got to go way up for him. Now, he had 11.5 hits per 9 last year, so I understand why it was so crappy. That's all they had to go off of. But he's now got a decent little bit of a sample so far this year, and I think he can get all the way up to 63, so a 21-point jump. He's chopped 3.5 hits per 9 off of his rate. That's huge. Now, that's the beauty of small samples. You can make a small adjustment, and it can have this huge impact, and it looks like, oh my God, that's amazing. But it's because he was at 11.5. He almost had nowhere to go but down. If his hit rate would have gone up, he'd be out of the freaking league right now. But he's got a 232 average against, 302 BABIP, which is actually average, which makes me happy, because if he had this like 210 batting average on balls in play, I'd be like, he might just be running hot. But this is with a pretty league average BABIP. His hard contact rate is lower, not massively, but any little bit helps, especially when you're in Colorado. All right, his strikeouts per 9 going to go up to 70. This dude has strikeout stuff. He's at 10.3, up from 8.9 last year. 13% swinging strike rate. That's up 3 percentage points. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take it up a couple more. I think 72 is fair. Like, he has pure strikeout stuff. Like, absolutely can throw 100 at times. Honestly, his fastball velocity maybe should be moved up, but I understand where it's at based on what he's registered in the league. But he's got power stuff. That slider is filthy, so we'll go to 72 there, especially since that's all we've got. We had the hit 9 and the K9 for Jon Gray, but that hit 9 was such a huge upgrade. They could probably do it even higher. I don't know if they're going to, though. Goes from a 74 to something 79. So far, our biggest upgrade. Very well deserved. And then this becomes a really intriguing card. Still wish he had a curve, but you can't really have a curve in Coors. That's why they picked him so high, and they thought he was a prototype for them. He throws a fastball a ton. He can throw 95 plus regularly. He's huge, and he has a slider instead of a curveball. All right, guys. Now, I don't know if the next call would be a move that's unprecedented, but it's certainly something that would be unique, but I think it's actually deserved. I was very pleased with them when they double upgraded Michael Fulmer. They went back-to-back weeks saying, you know what, we gave him that first upgrade, we got to go back to the well. Great job, San Diego Studios. You guys 100% agree with that. Don't be shy to go 2 weeks in a row. It's fine. You know, if you're always a couple weeks behind anyway, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you like messed up the first week. You're just going in the order that you normally go. Still think they can go back to the well one more time and say, actually, we got to do a little bit more, because this 49 here really sticks out to me as too low, just far too low. First off, he's got 0.8 homers per 9 in the majors. That's a perfectly good rate. That's better than average. Now, he did have an ugly 1.8 in AAA, almost 2 homers per 9 in AAA, but it was 3 starts. 3 starts, and all 3 of the homers that he allowed came in 1 game. So if they're basing it off that, that's pretty tough to pin on him, especially because if you look at his minor league record, all 398 innings, he had a 0.6 homer per 9, which again is extremely good. So I've got him all the way up to 66. They need to move this up. They absolutely need to move this up. So I hope that they do. Again, moving to, upgrading him 3 weeks in a row might be like, dang, that's tough for us to do. But he's absolutely deserving of it. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball since he got going on this run. I also see one other factor that could get a substantial upgrade, and I'm going to say they need to upgrade the control of every single one of his pitches. Because he's showing really good control, and his overall control mark was really low. So I don't know why it would be that low, to be quite honest. And I think you can only move the BB per 9 up so much. At some point, you have to move this up, and this has been the game changer. They should really move the break on that changeup up as well. But I'm just going to move the control up. I think they all should go to 60, except for fastball up to 65. And we'll see what that does. Again, the break on this, this has been the game changer. He says that the changeup, when asked, he's like, this was the one that kind of turned it, spurred his run, gave him something else to kind of keep the hitters off balance with. Pitching coach noticed it, suggested he and James McCann suggested that he throw it more. He said he couldn't really get it going in the bullpen, took it in the game, the one against Tampa Bay. It really came together, and he's thrown it so much more since then. Fuck it, I'm going to move it up. I'm going to say 50. I think if they're going to go in and fiddle with the control, which I'm hoping they do, then while they're in there, why wouldn't you fix the break as well? Like, I understand they might not have the bandwidth to constantly fix pitches every single week, but when you're trying to mold this essentially new character, new player, it's all right to keep going in there and tinkering a bit till you get it right. And I think this would be a move that they could do, and then it would take a hell of a lot for him to get any more upgrades after this. He'd go from 78 up to 82. And now his control is at 61, which still is not like earth-shattering and probably too low for what he's actually displayed in the majors. But that's all right. He is a rookie. We are talking about a small sample, so it doesn't have to be OP. It just needs to be commensurate with what we've seen both in the majors and minors, because he was a really good prospect. All right, last one. Go complete other end of the scale. This was a rookie. We're going to a veteran in the NL Central. Willie Peralta. No, I'm just kidding. Wainwright. Now, he's interesting because he's gotten 2 downgrades. And so we kind of see the path that he took to get on the downgrade cycle. I feel like it could be kind of an easy situation for them to just kind of progress him back up, like take him back to the levels that he last lost for this run, and then if he keeps another run, then move him back up to that top level. I don't think they're going to bypass it and bring him all the way back up to where he was. He's going to have to earn that because he did take 2 downgrades because he was pitching really poorly. Hits per 9, I think, can go up 5 points back to 60. Now, it went from 67 to 60 to 55. So, again, I'm progressing it up. I'll say 60 right now. He has a 6.8 hits per 9 over his last 6 starts. And that's also since the upgrade, or the last downgrade, excuse me. He's got a 2.50 ERA and a .98 WHIP in those 40 innings too, by the way. So he's been really good lately. He pitched well again tonight. Got a tough luck loss with no run support. Or actually, I don't even know if he took the loss. I think he went out no decision style. But either way, did not get a dub. Yeah, because he didn't give up any runs, so you can't really get a loss when you don't give up any runs. K9 needs to kind of slowly move up. I mean, it's not going to be great, but he is striking out more guys. 8.4 strikeouts per 9 since his last downgrade. He went from 64 to 55 to 51. Now, I am moving a little bit higher than that last level where he was at 55, but I think he has earned that. Not all the way back up to 64, but a little bit above where he used to be. I think he should be moving back up quicker than he moved down, based on what we've seen from him, especially since he has a track record that says that he's been great before. We can kind of trust a smaller sample out of him than we normally would for like a young player. And then his BB per 9, again, had a trajectory where it went 85, 80, 75. I'm sending it back upward from 75 to 80. He's got a 2.2 BB per 9 since his last downgrade. What are you barking at? What? What? Show everybody. Show YouTube. What? What's wrong? You don't like that upgrade? Fine. Doesn't want Waino upgraded, I guess. Either way. So there. A couple upgrades here for Adam Wainwright. I can't hear anything outside. I don't know what the hell she's barking at. And let's see where that moves him. From 83 back to gold? Yes, it would take him back to gold. Now, they might not be ready to do that. I honestly don't know. But if they don't, that's fine. Go ahead and buy now. I wouldn't buy a ton because, it has looked bad at times this year. And I'm not going to be surprised if he goes on a huge summer run and all of us that put him back in the coffin, because kind of buried him last year. He had the Achilles, came back, looked pretty damn good in very limited innings. Has the thing this year. I don't know if you guys heard about this. SiriusXM Fantasy was doing a draft. He was like the 24th pitcher off the board. He calls in, gives them hell about it, has this whole inspiring thing about, no, I'm working my butt off, I'm training, I'm going to be beast, I'm still going to be great. I fell for that. I was like, man, that I can believe it. Plus, he is awesome. He made his case, too. He's like, if I was some old washed up dude, would I have gotten back from the, Achilles or whatever, in the same year or whatever, He made that case, got some people back on his bandwagon. Then goes out and he was just brutal to start the season. I mean, he had a really, really tough start to the season. Even now, I think with today's start, I think he's got like a 4.80 ERA still. Let me see. It might actually be over 5 still, even with all this good work over these last 6 starts. Let me see. Let me check the Cardinals. 478. So he actually got it down under 5 today with 7 scoreless innings. But he's been a lot better. He's moving up. I'd actually have no problem with him moving back to gold. But even if he doesn't, I say invest a couple. If you normally invest, if you're going crazy on Fulmers and Jon Grays and James Paxtons and those types, I understand that. With Wainwright, he is old. And at 34 with some recent injuries, it can go sideways in a real hurry, even more so than some of these younger guys. So I would not, it'd be a medium investment if he doesn't get the upgrade this week, and you have to kind of decide whether you're going to hold, sell, or buy more. I'd probably buy a little bit more, but I would not double, triple, quadruple down. All right, so there's the pitching upgrades. I'll review them quickly. Drew Pomeranz actually stays 85, but technically I would say it is an upgrade because he would get his changeup, which he very well deserves. And I think that if we can get him the changeup, all of a sudden he becomes a lot more usable of a pitcher as a gold, because I haven't really touched him since he got gold. Stephen Wright of the Red Sox goes 78 to 79, and we're incrementally getting him up there. But the fact that he does walk a ton still, because that's just part of a knuckleballer, I don't know that his overall is really going to shoot up, but if they do some of the moves that are suggested here, they would also improve the break on his knuckleball, which would make him a lot more devastating. A 10-point boost in break, I think, would be really helpful to helping us kind of, be filthy with him the way he's been filthy this year. Justin Verlander from 83 to 86. CC Sabathia from 76 to 78, going into silver. Verlander going into gold. James Paxton from 79 to 81, just becoming a stronger silver. Danny Duffy from 76 to 79, moving into silver. Michael Fulmer from 78 to 82, staying silver but becoming stronger, and probably sticking there for a while then. He would have to probably have another month of strong work to move up yet again. Jon Gray from 74 to 79, our biggest gainer of the night, moving into silver. And then Adam Wainwright back into silver from 83 to 86. We'll see how those turn out on June 17th, this Friday. Hopefully they do well and give us some. A couple guys I'm trying to think of who I had recently that hasn't been upgraded. I had a lot of relievers. Will Harris, I think he actually did get his upgrade, though. Maybe he'll get another one. Justin Wilson, Sengwon Oh. Sean Kelly could get an upgrade now because he's technically going to be the closer for a little while. Let's see what that does. Just moving him to closer. Does that do anything? He also deserves a statistical upgrade. You can check 2 weeks ago, I think is when I gave Kelly his upgrade. But what about just moving him to closer? Does that do anything? No, it doesn't. Oh, I didn't do it. I'm an idiot. It's well known that I'm an idiot. 78. So moves him up one. Moves him into silver, just being a closer. But I also think that there's upgrade potential within his numbers. So that's pretty good. They could move him over to closer now, even knowing it's short term, because he is the closer while Jonathan Papelbon's on the disabled list. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones I've had recently who could still be upgraded, because again, just because they didn't get upgraded the week I project them to doesn't mean I'm off the bandwagon, especially if they didn't, fall apart or anything. Let's see here. I'll just bring this up really fast. Justin Wilson, Addison Reed, Zach Britton, Julio Teheran, Matt Shoemaker. John Lester got his. So there's still those guys, and there's even others from previous couple weeks back that haven't gotten it yet, and so there's still guys I could see getting upgrades. I can't think of exactly who those guys are anymore, though. So you'll have to check the archives on youtube.com/PJS24 if you're interested. Anyway, we'll see how this turns out on Friday.